Oh, yeah. What is going on, everybody? How are we doing today? It is a pleasure to be with you all. I have received numerous requests, numerous messages to have this conversation. If you watched the stream live yesterday, there are people in the chat that wanted to have this conversation or wanted me to have this conversation and hear my perspective. Today, I decided to hop on here while the topic is still somewhat hot. Probably should have done it sooner. I just didn't have the desire, nor did I really have. I had my thoughts collected. I got a bunch of messages earlier on and kind of had this all drawn out in general, but I didn't know if I wanted to go live and talk about it. So today is the day. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping real quick. I'm not going to do this every single time I come on, but first I want to talk about this. As you guys know, looking at the name, change the name. I will be doing a video on that tomorrow. Going by Lysander now. And thank you for addressing me as such, I believe. We'll talk about that tomorrow, though. I have a pretty good podcast for tomorrow. So there's that. The next thing is this. If you are not friends with me on Twitter, please do go and subscribe to me on Twitter. Become a follower. And that way there as well, people that are communicating with me are communicating with me on Twitter. So at A God Amongst Men 2 on Twitter, please do go on Twitter and follow. Feel free to send me DMs. That's the best way to contact me. Give me some topics that you want to hear about. Send me memes. Send me topics that you're hearing about on Twitter as well. Highly, highly recommend you get on that website, even though obviously we all know what's going on with censorship and all that other stuff. Probably one of the best places still. So there's that. And of course, my book. You'll see a link to my book in the description of this video. So please do go and check that out. Some other housekeeping, and we'll discuss this again further. What I'm looking at right now is this. I came on here live today just because I wanted to discuss this topic. I'm not going to go live every single day. I'm looking at possibly doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday live stream. That's kind of the direction I want to go with it right now. So if you want to catch me, please do subscribe, like, and share. Turn the notifications on. Make sure that you got the bell because it looks like we don't have that many people right now. So maybe they didn't get the, what's it called? The notification. Either way, who gives a shit? I'm just going to ramble and rant anyway, like I do, and go from there. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, unless, of course, I get bored. Now, here's the thing, guys. As I just said, like, share, subscribe. The big thing right now is this. My channel will not grow. My channel will not grow without you sharing. I am shadow banned for sure, for sure, for sure. So the only way to get the word out of what I'm trying to accomplish, what I'm talking about, all that other stuff is for you to share. That shit's free. The other thing is this. The reason why I took such a long time off was because I needed to go to work. I needed to go and make some money. I don't really make any money off of this. And the other thing that you have to know about me personally is that I am the type of person that, it's part of my masculine traits. If I don't see growth in a certain direction, I stop, I pause, I reassess, and I inventory whether or not my actions or the directions I'm going are worth it. And I make a decision. 3 things: completely quit, redirect and rebrand, or keep going. Big thing right now is this. If you guys want to continue seeing this, I need to see a gain in followers and subscribers. I need to see a gain in comments. I need to see a gain in likes. And I need to also see a financial gain as well. Plain and simple. So if you want to continue to see this, please do hit the super chat button. Drop $1. Drop however much you can, or hit the PayPal link that you'll see in the description. Send me some dollars. Book 3, my 3rd book, part 2 of A Patriarch's Vision, is now complete. I edited it myself as well. It is ready for publication. I just need to go through the what's it called? The process of getting it set up for Kindle, getting it set up for print, creating the title or the cover art, and all that other good shit. So if you feel in your heart to help me push this book out and get it published, I am currently at a goal of probably around $2,000. Please PayPal me that money. That'd be great. So much appreciated, and much appreciated. Today, so far for me, has been a great day. As you can see, I got a nice shiner. Jiu-jitsu's been going well again. Now that I'm back to a good schedule. If you guys don't know, for a little while there, I was working graveyards. Oh my God. I was working for a federal security company. I'll get into this probably a little bit later, but we were guarding a specific site, made pretty good money. But I was working graveyards, which totally flipped my schedule upside down. It made it so that it was difficult for me to even try to focus on any of this stuff, focus in this direction and take care of other shit. So I could barely go to jiu-jitsu. So now I am back on track. During that time, though, I was hitting the gym hard. I got pretty fucking jacked. I got lean again, too, which was awesome. The schedule helped me to be able to focus mostly on my diet, but I could not get to jiu-jitsu. So now it's good. I'm so happy to be back, getting into jiu-jitsu full time again. But my fucking face, as you guys can see, I got red dots all over. I got fucking, what's it called? Wrong side. There we go. Face is just getting torn up by the gi. First super chat of the evening, $2 holla. Thank you very much for your $2. Let's continue to have that flow. I appreciate it very much. Hitting this one too. Phil Franklin says, calling it now. We will see another 9/11 style attack on either the U.S. or Europe in the next 2 to 3 years, given the West's weakness in all the resources the U.S. left to the Taliban. We will discuss this a little bit further. If you guys have any thoughts, comments, opinions on what is going on with Afghanistan and the Taliban, please do feel free to throw your comments in the comment section. That'd be great to hear and throw up on the screen, and we could have a discussion about it. Hopefully, we do not get, we'll see. We don't get too many people like we had yesterday where that one individual started crying about some stupid ass shit. So anyway. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. After a hard day of rolling in jiu-jitsu, there's nothing better than carbonated beverages. Nice, cold, carbonated beverages. It's fucking cold, or it's warm as fuck outside. Rolling around that damn gi. I'm 230 some odd pounds right now. Jesus. And it's just fucking brutal, but I love it. Anyway, that's going to be another topic as well as we move forward. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, you'll see that tweet that I put out, I talked about it yesterday, about the foundations of what I think men need to focus on moving forward, of training, fighting, and shooting. It gained a lot of traction, lots of retweets, lots of likes. I'm going to do a podcast on that next week and have this discussion. As for tomorrow, what we're going to be talking about, well, actually, you know what? Stay to the end. Stay to the end, and I'll tell you what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So, moving right along. I'm going to give a little bit of a background real quick for those people who may not know. Afghanistan has been it's been a touchy subject as of late. I'll tell you what ended up happening. Once we announced that we were leaving and that the Taliban had, actually just recently, last week, once word reached out that the Taliban had completely taken over Afghanistan, right? Essentially what happened with them was the ANA, the Afghan National Army, just laid down their fucking arms and has given complete military power, and essentially really what it comes down to now is political power to the Taliban. I started getting texts, phone calls, DMs like crazy from people saying, hey, Are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm just like, it to me, especially because I don't fucking pay attention to the news at all. I really don't. And I don't really let that stuff affect me emotionally. I didn't really fucking care. And that's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing. But as time has gone on over the past week or so, I don't want to say I've had a change of opinion, but I've added some additional thoughts and feelings to that current predicament. Dang, getting blowed up. Let's silence that shit. Get out of here. So let's give a little bit of background. I was in Afghanistan in 2010. I was a United States Marine. I was a counterintelligence, human intelligence specialist. What that essentially meant was my goal was to gather as much intelligence through human sources in order to protect United States troops and supplies, right? Infrastructure, and to essentially find and eliminate the enemy. That was my job. I ran sources. Now, the best sources were people that were either in the Taliban or close to people in the Taliban. So when I was over there, I was working directly with these people. I was working directly with Afghans. I was working directly with, obviously, the populace, the civilian side, and I was working directly with people that were Taliban. I was also in the deadliest place in Afghanistan at the time. This was Sangin, Afghanistan, 2010. I started talking a little bit about it during my War Story Sunday. I was getting to the precipice of the big show, the big showdown for me personally. I stopped posting those videos up. I probably should have continued them. I just didn't see the engagement at the time. Felt like I was putting too much out there, putting too much effort into it. And like I said, whenever I don't see the return on my investment, I make decisions, right? So either way, long story short, I went in there, saw a lot of conflict. We were literally in the depths of, let me just put Sangin, Afghanistan in perspective in 2010. We have a list of HVIs or HVTs. These are called high value individuals or high value targets. I think we stopped calling them targets to be politically correct, but they were fucking targets, right? Top 10. The top 10 Taliban leaders in Afghanistan were located directly in Sangin, Afghanistan. The top 10. We had the highest amount of arms smuggling, the highest amount of opium and heroin trade. We had the highest amount of cash and money being pushed through from Kajaki Dam down through Sangin and then into Pakistan. If you guys aren't aware and don't understand, this is the Taliban's territory, is all through Helmand and Farah province, moving all the way down. The Taliban belong to a group known as the Pashtuns, right? And the Pashtuns are a tribe of people that are old school warriors. These people have been fighting for thousands of years. Okay? So, we had, where I was located, I was the sole American intelligence collector at that time, which means I had to know everyone and everything that was happening at this point in time. I was in charge of this location that had the top 10, number 1 all the way down to 10 of the HVIs on this priority kill list of what Phil Franklin just described. These were the guys that needed to be killed or detained for interrogation, right? What had happened in Sangin as well was obviously through our Western ways, what we were trying to do was instill democracy. So when we went into Sangin, we set up a district governor. We set up a district chief of police. We set up all these other school building initiatives and all these other things, right? And on my base, This little base that I had, it was called Fob Jackson, which got changed to Fob Sabit Kadam. I think so. Sabit Kadam or something like that. I don't fucking know. Fob Jackson, right? You could probably look it up. Got changed after I left or during, I don't fucking remember, in order to make it an Afghan base. But the reality was it was an American-run base. It was previously held by the British. We came in, we took over. That's why I was there. I first came in before all the other Americans in order to start the intelligence cycle and run sources to find out what the fuck was going on. Either way, we had the district chief of police and the district governor that were located on the base so that we could protect them at all times. They did not live off of base. Why? Because the Taliban actually ran the fucking show there. The Taliban lived amongst the people. They dictated the people. They sponsored people's lifestyle by telling them, hey, fight for us, help us out, give us information, plant bombs. We will pay you handsomely. We will make sure that you're taken care of. The democratically elected officials of Sangin were located on the base and did not go and roam around the people, right? That's essentially what we were trying to do at the time. Was we were trying to get the people there to turn over their old belief system of letting the Taliban run the show and install this new regime. It didn't take too well. It did not take too well at all. One of the days that I remember most was in September of 2010. It was election day. So what we were doing was we were trying to run elections for different positions of leadership within Sangin. I have never seen, and I'm telling you, before this day, we were getting gunfire and mortared and blown up or whatever. We were getting into conflict probably about 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Around those times is when it wasn't every day, but it was pretty fucking regular, right? I don't think on election day, I don't think that there was 30 minutes without some level of gunfire. And so what I'm trying to describe to you is this. The Taliban made it so that we were engaged all day long, so that people would not leave their houses and would not vote. This is how locked down they had it. I remember at night after the sun went down, I went up on the tower of this base. And I just looked around, and from probably 10 different positions, tracer fire of machine guns just all over the place. It was fucking awesome. I'm telling you, it was a fucking insanely awesome day. Just the level of coordination and networking and firepower that they brought to ensure that their way was not usurped by our Western democratic rule. Now, why do I mention all this stuff? Why do I talk about all this stuff? Because the Taliban understand something deep down. They have some sort of old sage wisdom that is deep within their bones that they know about. And I'm going to share something with you real quick. This meme. First and foremost, this was actually posted by a Taliban fighter, right? What it says is your culture. So it's a crying liberal Wojak on the left. And it says your culture is racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, and a threat to our liberal democratic society. You literally treat women like property. And then it's a fucking Chad Wojak of a Taliban fighter that says yes, with 3 women in the background wearing hijab, And they say, we finished making dinner, Habibi. If that doesn't fucking summarize the whole context perfectly of what they fucking understand and how they are, I don't know how to better fucking put it. These men are men who have faced this type of threat from the outside world for centuries. For centuries. It's crazy because when you go to Afghanistan and you look at these Taliban fighters, they're a hodgepodge of people. I call them they're really the true melting pot. Because it's just these old school genetics of people, right? That they've had their fucking bloodlines tampered with by outside influences for so fucking long. For so long that they're now a melting pot. But the one thing that keeps them fucking glued together, sorry, I'm going to say two things, but the one thing that's the pinnacle of it all is this Pashtun tribe that they belong to, right? And they believe in a code of ethics under Pashtun Wali. Right? That's their warrior code that they live up to. The second thing is Islam, right? But I would even go so far as to say that the prevailing thing that keeps them as a culture together is the warrior spirit. Because, and this is why Islam is kind of secondary, because Islam is a religion that supports and promotes the warrior spirit, being a warrior of God, being a warrior of your people, right? Why am I saying all this? Take a look at our Western culture, our Western decadence, our Western religions, right? And take a look at how far down the rabbit hole we've taken this to what type of people we are today. We're talking about a group of men that can literally, these men can literally recite their lineage back to their great grandfather. They know at least 10 levels of their heredity. And each one of the men in their family line were fucking warriors. And how is that so? How do we know that those men were warriors? Because if they weren't, they were fucking killed. That fucking bloodline would not be existent. These men have been fighting the fight against this perversion of reality for centuries. For centuries. I would go so far as to say millennia. Right? Because centuries, when I say that term, that could be misconstrued as maybe 200 years. No. These men have been doing it for millennia. Millennia. Thousands of years. It is so much so that it's deeply ingrained into who they are as a people. And they can withstand the attacks from the Western democratic liberals. That's why that meme is perfect. They could sit there boldly and listen to these crybabies that have these crazy agendas that are anti-human, anti-society. And with a bold face, stand the barrage of these insults that are meant to guilt and shame them into submission. And meanwhile, they can live life as masculine men, being warriors, having possession of their women, and in a way, belonging to a cause greater than themselves that is not necessarily steeped in the politics of their nation, or i.e. their government. Because they don't necessarily have one. They have a tribe. They have a warrior code. They understand masculinity. Now, what has caused this to happen? And why is it so that we are not able to win this war? Why is it that we're not able to convert these people over to our Western world when we've been able to do it in other countries? The answer to that is decentralization. They have never and will never have a centralized government. As a matter of fact, none of what they have is centralized. It was insane to watch how these people worked together. Now, there's a lot of shady shit that goes on over there. Don't get me wrong. I am not holding these people up as the golden moral fabric of humanity and civilization. Don't get me wrong on this. But are there things that we could take away from them and model into a new world? Absolutely. And I think they are as backwards as most modern people will consider them. I think that they are farther along than we are when it comes to understanding how to establish the baseline rules and foundations of a society and a civilization. Truly believe that. I want to share with you another one. Hopefully I'll turn up the volume on this one.
Would that still include women's rights and a democracy?
Uh-oh. I didn't share it. Go back.
President.
Skip the step. Feck. You got all excited about that one.
Would that still include women's rights and a democracy? So would you believe in the democratic vote, though? So would people be allowed to vote in women politicians?
He fucking tells them to stop videotaping. Based as fuck. Based as fuck, man. I'm telling you. So essentially what that interaction was, is it was a Western woman asking about women's rights. The first guy answered it in a very political way. We believe in women's rights under Sharia law. Essentially what he was saying is we defer to the Quran as far as what's highlighted in the Quran to be women's rights. And she tried to navigate back around and say, well, does that mean that women are going to have the ability to be democratically elected into positions of power in government and so forth? And they fucking started laughing at her. And they told her to turn off the fucking camera. Based as fuck. Now, the reason why I mention this stuff, and I talk about this as well, is before this Taliban stuff came to light, I had already finished writing my book. I had already finished writing my new book. You know, previous to this, I've alluded to a few things. I've talked about it. I've talked about it on Twitter and all this other stuff. And I've said, you know, women need to get kicked out of the military. I got banned for saying that too, by the way, on Twitter. I said women should never have any type of authority over men. That means in corporations, that means in police forces, that means in governments, that means in any of these business, any of these things, any of these establishments. In my new book, I finished writing this, right? And I highlight all of these things. Highlight all of these things in my new book. How to set up a society with all of these rules in place, learning from the 9 key things that I mentioned in Purging Feminism. And it was crazy for me to hear this and see that video, that these dudes believe the same exact fucking way. And it launched me down this hole, right? It launched me down this thought process of understanding this stuff. So when people came to me and they're like, hey, I want to hear your thoughts and views on what's going on in Afghanistan. What are your thoughts with us turning things over to the Taliban? The first thing I said was, when people first originally asked me, I said, I don't care, guys. I don't fucking care. And the reason why was because a lot of these guys were coming at me with like an emotional, they wanted to hear my emotional response of like, oh man, I'm fucking so pissed off. You know, we gave our fucking lives. You know, I dedicated so much to this and blah, 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 blah. So a lot of these people were like, in a way, going with like the base level type of thing. It's kind of like when someone says, I'm in the military or I'm a veteran, and someone automatically says, oh, thank you for your service, right? That's like the base level emotional interaction between normies and vets and so forth, right? So that's what people were kind of looking for from me when they asked, right? Like, how do you feel? And I'm be like, oh man, I'm fucking just so pissed off. Like, oh man, my friend died fucking face down in the muck because of this shit and blah, 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 blah. No. I just simply said, I don't fucking care. You want to know why I don't care? Because I got over this shit a long fucking time ago, right? My military service, my combat service, my heroism in combat, all this other shit, it doesn't define me. It was just one small chapter to help me grow into who I am today. What also helped me get over it was the fact that I understood. I began to understand why we were over there. And I was pissed off a long fucking time ago. And I'm no longer pissed off about it. Why am I not pissed off about it? I'm not pissed off about it because I had no control over it. With the information I was given at the time, I made the best decision I could. Most people won't understand this, but I didn't necessarily join the military right off the bat because I wanted to go and protect my fucking country. That was part of it. But it's also because I grew up in a fucked up situation, in a fucked up environment where people were going to be fucking townies and stay in the same place for the rest of their life. I lived in a household with fucked up parents, again, surrounded by fucked up people. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to go into fucking debt for a job I didn't know I was going to fucking like. And I wanted to go see the fucking world. The military gave me that direction, right? After some time, I decided I want to fucking go to combat, and I figured out a way to get myself to go to Iraq and Afghanistan, right? And of course, was I pissed off? Absolutely. Was I pissed off a while ago? I think it was maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I found out that we had turned over saying in Afghanistan to the Taliban. We lost all the ground that we fucking, was I pissed off then? A little bit, right? But by that point in time, I fucking realized and understood why we were really over there. And also, and this is the next part I want to bring up, and this is what, full circle. After some time of my own self-reflection and seeing what had happened over there, number one, I had come to respect my enemy. And number two, I had come to see us almost as the bad guys. Now, this isn't to say that the service members that I served with, which are some of the greatest men I've ever fucking had the ability to be around, right? Men that were my rank, that were in my specific position, right? I could talk shit about a lot of other fucking soup sandwiches that were in the military. But dudes that joined based under the same pretenses that I did, of wanting to go to fucking war, wanting to get out of the shithole that they were part of, wanting to become better men, that were actually fucking efficient and good leaders in the military and hella warriors, like, beautiful. I wouldn't consider those guys the bad guys. What I'm saying, though, is what I came to realize was this: the pretenses by which that we went into this country and the occupying force that we became turned us into the bad guys. And for those of you out there that aren't ready to hear it, you need to start to understand these things. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories right now because, unfortunately, those things just don't fucking do anyone well. I would much rather you start to explore the reasons as to why I mention these things. Explore it on your own. Start to go down the rabbit hole there. Lead yourself to your own conclusions. But what I'm saying is there's some deep down reasons that we went over to that country, government and corporations, right? That's why we went there. And then the other thing that really started to change my mind was this. There's actually two things. I remember one specific situation where we were on patrol, and this was in the middle of fucking nowhere. We were in the middle of nowhere, and we go up on this compound, and the only male that's there is this old timer. Like, I'm talking 70 years old. And if you're fucking 70 years old in Afghanistan, you're doing something right. Right? And this motherfucker is the only male there. I think he's got like 2 wives and like 3 daughters or something like that. So they got a whole bunch of sheep and fucking cows inside their compound. And we raid this guy's house. Really for no fucking reason other than, you know, that's what we were kind of doing. We were doing security presence, patrols, and all this other shit. We hadn't taken shots, hadn't done anything. Long story short, we end up finding a fucking old bolt-action rifle in his house. And we flexi-cuff this dude, and we start questioning him, and we're like, yo, why the fuck do you have this gun? And he's like, for hunting and protection. Now, this is a bolt-action rifle, right? Just one, just with enough rounds to maybe defend his home and maybe fucking go hunting or whatever. It's not like he has a stockpile or whatever. We took his fucking gun, right? And we almost detained this guy. Now, because we're in the middle of fucking nowhere, there was no way other than calling in a helicopter, right, to bring this guy to a detention facility or anything like that. But I sat back after a while and I was like, damn, we fucking like go into this dude's house, kick in his fucking door, and we take his fucking gun? Like a gun that he would need to protect himself and get food from, right? I was like, yo, we're an occupying, we're an enemy force at this point in time, right? Why wouldn't people, if we think of this as like a Red Dawn scenario, right? We've all seen the movie Red Dawn, right? Let's fucking hope so. The new one's pretty good, by the way. Imagine this force, this enemy force, all in fucking whatever, comes storming through into your fucking country, and all of a sudden they're saying, you have this curfew. Every time you come through this area, you have to be subjected to a search. We have to check your shit. You're not allowed to have fucking guns anymore and all this other stuff. Would you not be like, yo, fuck you? Would you not be like, hey, let's get these motherfuckers out of here. I don't give a fuck what they have to say. Like, you're not coming into my country and telling me what the fuck to do when I've been living this way for 30, 40, 50, 60 fucking years, right? Like, I'm not hurting nobody. Didn't do shit. Didn't fucking get anybody to go on some planes and fly into your fucking towers and shit. Got nothing to do with that, bro. Right? Would you not? Would you not be pissed off enough to fucking start pushing back against this occupying force? Right? Now, I'm starting to sound a little bit like a hippie, right? I fucking hate hippies, by the way. I believe in war. I really, truly do believe in war. I believe in war. I believe in combat. I believe in all this shit, right? I think there's bad people on this planet. I think there's countries out there that are planning to fucking come and overtake us, right? Right? Like, be prepared for this shit. And be prepared to go and fucking fight. The problem is when you go to war under false pretenses and then you subject innocent people to your wrath. That's where I have a fucking issue. That's where I have an issue, right? If these were people that were actually moving against our country en masse in order to cause us some level of harm or destruction, right? En masse, I could see it justified. But in this case, I don't. So now what do we have? We have, actually, you know what? Let me go back to one other thing. I want to talk about this as well. My actual interactions with the Taliban. And then I'll get into like kind of wrapping it up as to like what my thought processes are. First and foremost, just dealing with Afghans in general was something completely different to me than I'd ever really thought I would experience or expect. These people were so in touch and in tune with people because that's how they dealt with one another, right? That me being an intelligence collector, right? So I'd fly under the banner of, I had a fake name, right? I had a fake name, a pseudonym. And I also never wore rank. I walked around with a pistol and I walked around an interpreter. So that people would probably assume that I was a captain or a major or something like that, right? Because in all other armies across the world, usually officers carry pistols. Usually it's officers that have interpreters along with them and all that other good stuff. Excuse me. I'm cutting again. So, anyway. It was amazing to see how quickly these people were able to see through my shit and other people's shit. And I was like, huh. I remember one time they asked me, they're like, hey, what's your job in the military? Like some people in Ashura or whatever, or some people just out in town. I'm like, oh, I am whatever my cover was, right? I do this, right? I assist in civil projects and all this other shit, right? They're like, no, you're an intelligence collector. They're like, that's why you have that interpreter and all this other shit. Like, you collect intelligence. I was like, no. They're like, okay. And they're like, give me that look like, okay, yeah, I gotcha. These people were able to see deception because for so long, they've no longer been deluded by, they were never deluded by social media, entertainment, all this shit on fucking TV and all this other crap, news, all this other stuff, staring at their fucking cell phones all day. For years and years and years and years, they've had to operate their social climate by reading people and who they are and determining whether or not they're trustworthy from the get-go and so forth, right? I used to say this. They would stare in your eyes when talking to you so much so that they could read your fucking soul. Very, very, very impressive. Now, the other thing, too, was this. I remember being at Ashura one time, and we were actually talking to Taliban leadership in this Shura. And if you guys don't know what a Shura is, it's just like it's a council meeting, right? We get together and we just have talks. That's a Shura. And this one Taliban member fucking looks at me and he goes, well, he looks at us, the leadership. And he goes, you Americans may have the watches, but we have the time. And I was just like, fuck, dude, that's some serious shit. Essentially what he was saying to us was like, hey, you fucking stupid Westerners have your technology and your inventions and your political way of doing business and all this other bullshit. Shove it up your ass. Guess what? We have the fucking time. You're in our fucking country. You're on our fucking clock, motherfucker. We will wait you the fuck out. It's essentially what he was saying was, you publish all this shit in the fucking news, your timelines and all this other stuff. We'll just wait you the fuck out. We will wait you the fuck out. We have the time. This is our land. We own this shit. We have the fucking strategy. We have the patience. There was oh man, I gotta actually, I'll read it to you. I think it's in my fucking, what's it called? Now, I don't know necessarily if, this is true or not, but it's pretty accurate. August 14th, 2021, written in Taliban, which doesn't make any sense. You can't write in Taliban. You could write it in Arabic, or it's written by the Taliban. Who knows? Anyway, it's like a little letter to us. It says, the first time I saw you was in the Khyber Pass. You came with your technology, elite fighters fueled by revenge, and the hubris to believe you could disprove history. This was a war that you didn't have the stomach to fight, but I'm glad you tried. We bled you the same way we bled the Soviets in our holy land. We bled you the same way the Vietnamese bled you in their homeland. We did it patiently and deliberately. Patience, something Westerners never learn. Our history is millennial. We do not yearn for an early victory when the infidel ravages our holy land. Our victory is celebrated decades from now. We've endured, then ravaged every standing military that crossed our borders. Why? How? We're patient. In 30 days, we'll be stronger, richer, and have control over precious natural resources that you need for your pathetic life that's dictated by comfort. We have women, riches, land, guns, and ownership of one of the greatest chapters in military history. You lose. If you want to try again, we welcome the challenge. You will fall regardless of how much money you burn in our deserts. For pity, here is free advice that may contribute to your future success should you ever decide to invade again. You recruit your warriors and supporters from a drug-addicted, distracted, delusioned population that's obsessed with comfort and entertainment. A population obsessed with altering their mundane reality. Alcohol, marijuana, pills, and our new favorite, Tide Pods. Every time your doctors prescribe opiate painkillers, you line our coffers with gold. Your population's thirst for our pristine heroin has never been more lucrative for our warrior tribes. We will keep feeding you poison for as long as you keep your hands out. If your population wasn't so spineless, undisciplined, and self-loathing, then you might be able to compile a raiding party with enough tenacity to overthink ours. Our fighters are born into war. So, when people ask me, Lysander, how do you feel about the Taliban taking over their country? How do you feel about all this stuff? My answer is good. Good. I'm glad they have their country back. I'm glad it's in the right hands of warriors and men who understand reality and who will fight for it for 20, 30, 40, or 1,000 fucking years. Those are men that understand the reality of the sexual marketplace. They understand the reality of economics. They understand the reality of governments. And they understand the reality of how men are to be brothers in arms, warriors, and fighting for a purpose bigger than themselves. The Western liberal that wants to cry and shriek and talk about democracy, these are people that are not based in reality. They do not understand that those systems are systems by which the weak govern the strong. And when the weak govern the strong, or the weak govern in general, we end up with this type of shit that we see now in the West. So, with that said, I think the real people in power, let's hope this isn't some kind of operation, right? Some kind of charade that's being presented to us. The Taliban, in my opinion, were a formidable enemy. I really do believe, however, if we wanted to win that fight, if we wanted to win that war and actually go in and fight like real, true Americans, we could have. But I think this was a tremendous lesson to us. And what I think right now, with the popularity that the Taliban is gaining online and from the reactions of other people, I think this is a huge message. I think this is a message that we're about to see a huge change in the way civilization and society is run. Because we have to ask the question, why are people so attracted to this? And why are people so supportive? And I think it's because at a base level, we understand that we were living in a false, delusional reality. This Western, modernized, gynocentric, democratic system. And we are willing to trade it back in for less comfort, less civilization, and more of what makes us truly happy. And that's having wives and children, being warriors, having a brotherhood, and continually being prepared for defending what we know is right and true. That's how I feel about that. Anyway, I'm going to scroll through some of the chat here. I saw some interesting topics. I've heard that the Quran be referenced or referred to as a war handbook. I've read bits and pieces of it. I'm reading a bit of it right now, just to have my knowledge base on it. That's how I ever read religious texts. I think that I remember reading it quite a bit before going into Iraq and Afghanistan as well to understand more. Muhammad is more direct and more based and more steeped in like a warrior mindset. Is all I have to say. We're the kind of people today that have a store in every mall that sells dildos and sex stuff and lets young kids walk around in there too. Too weak and rotten as adults for future kids to respect. 100%. We have no morals in the West, just NPC mass media rainbow morals. Absolutely. West gets triggered, Taliban pulls triggers. Exactly. What you're saying about women is almost confused with misogyny. It's far from that. We don't hate women like the red pillars. We accept and acknowledge them for what they are. I'm going to change that to black pillars. The black pillars are more like the woman haters, right? And I think there is a sect and segment of red pillars that hate women as well. Usually guys that are going through their red pill rage. So yeah, in a way, you're right. 100% on board with what you're saying, though. The getting away from just nitpicking your fucking wording, right? I think you're absolutely right. That all I want to see, all I ever want to see is optimization of a human being, right? And what I hate most about everyone today is that they're living, when it comes to women and men, you know, I harp on women more, obviously, because I have a sexual selection towards wanting to be with a certain type of woman, right? This type of woman. It may come off as hate, but the reality is I'm just being critical. I'm being critical because I see people not living up to their most optimal way of life. And when I see that, I personally have to, and I think what we're also doing as well, is we're making those criticisms known so that we can make a change. This is what people get wrong. Not you guys, but the masses, is they think that anytime someone criticizes a group that they consider to be protected, it is somehow coming from a place of hate. No, it's not true. I could have strong feelings about something, or I may not. It may not even be based in feelings. It could be based off of facts. Hey, I don't agree with this. Here's why. Boom, 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 boom. That's not hate. That's logic, right? Yeah. We could have glassed the entire region in a couple of years and been done with it. Never should have been there for 20. 100%. Like I said, if we wanted to win, we would have. If this was a true war of what true warriors were meant to do, right? What is, I think I'll talk about this in the future, right? When it comes to war and warriorhood and all this other stuff. When men actually war, it is vile. It is a means by which you are trying to remove them from the planet. Plain and simple. We'll talk about it deeper though. Hey Corey, good luck good to see you back on YT. What's your take on the old theory that part of what financially fuels conflict in third world countries like the stands is the weapons industry needing customers? All right, since the question was asked, let's talk about it. First off, fuck it. I won't get too what's it called? But anyway. All right. So there's two clear distinctions that you have to draw. What's in it for us is the first question you have to ask, or what would be the primary motive? You always have to look at why. So who runs our country and who are our politicians? Well, the fact is our politicians aren't really running the country. It's corporates, it's corporations and corporate cronies that are essentially the political class of our world today. They're the ones that make law and all this other stuff. Draw the correlation now between the fact that we went in there in the 70s and we taught these guys how to grow opium, and then we decided to go in there. Then We have an opium epidemic within our country. We have mass amounts of heroin and Oxycontin being prescribed. You have your answer on one side. Then you have to sit here and you have to ask yourself, how did these things come to be, right? Well, you need batteries and a whole bunch of other electronic components that you're going to find in the fucking Hindu Kush and the mountains that are connected to China, which we gave to them after we invaded. We gave them to China. There's a whole bunch of jewels, a whole bunch of different stuff that are in those mountains to be mined by China. What are we producing in those countries right now? Oh, microchips, cell phones, computers. Strange how these devices end up on the fucking market years afterwards, right? So now we have these big, it's not just the military industrial complex. Yeah, of course, they were going to make the big time initial money off of that stuff. But then you have to look at the pharmaceutical companies, and then you have to look at Silicon Valley. And now you have to take a look at how these companies and corporations are teaming up with China to push an agenda. So what I'm saying is these people, these companies and corporations are beyond countries. They're beyond nations now. And they have an agenda. Anyway, oh yeah, by the way, I go by Lysander now. Thank you. Should have said that first, but whatever. I appreciate it. We've always been like the Roman Empire that views itself as the righteous one as it occupies. Now we're crumbling the same way. Crazy how that happens, huh? Yes, a superpower occupying a third world country doesn't sit right. Doesn't seem like a war worth fighting. I just gave you the background as to why we were doing it. There's a quote that says, patience and time is two of the greatest weapons you can have. 100%. So I worked with the Taliban. Yes, I did. I had men that were in the Taliban that spied on the Taliban and gave me information. Went to shuras where we talked to Taliban leaders. And then I also worked with guys that were in the new government structure, but were also still Taliban figures. They were playing both sides. Listen, none of what I'm saying when I talk about the Taliban should be painted in a light that they were the most moral people possible. I'm painting them in a light of understanding the base reality of life and society, right? They were scummy, right? Don't get me wrong. There were a lot of scumbags. So not perfect, but when it comes to certain things, absolutely for sure. Silicon and lithium. Yes, absolutely. The sandbox was a great environment for testing equipment, munitions, and tactics. It also allowed us to build a battle-hardened military, but that all went out the window in wokeness. Absolutely. Where can I find that Taliban statement you read like 10 minutes ago? I found it on Twitter, and then a buddy of mine texted it to me. Actually, he's one of the ones that just left a comment. It's on Instagram as well. TYRT or TYR Tactical that they posted up on what date was that? What date was that, Steve? I don't fucking remember. Tuesday, whatever Tuesday was. So the 17th. TYR Tactical on Instagram. Cool beans. All right. Let's close it up with housekeeping again. Make it quick. First off, name change to Lysander. You can find that as far as my books are concerned on... And that's the reason why I'm really saying it. On top of the fact that I would prefer you guys to call me that. Excuse me. Books on Amazon, specifically Purging Feminism by Lysander X Caligo, if that's how you're going to look for it. The link is in the description if you would like to support it. Please and thank you. Big ups to Gregory Dixon for a $20 super chat. Where's the rest of the super chats, people? Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it very much. You're the man. If you don't want to send out a super chat, you can hit up the PayPal link in order to send me some dollars in order for me to publish my next book, part 2 of this series of Purging Feminism. I will be changing my name legally. I'm going through the process. So yes, this will be my legal name. I'm going to, part of my housekeeping, I am going to be doing a podcast tomorrow where I will explain some of this on top of a few other things that I feel will be very important for you guys to listen to. It's not just going to be about the name change, right? Like first and foremost, like it's about much, much, much deeper things. So tune in tomorrow at 5. And we'll talk about that. But as always, this is the housekeeping that I'm discussing right now. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. is going to be the goal I'm going to shoot for. I will be live tomorrow at 5 p.m. We'll be discussing transformation. The transformation of man, or the transformation from boy to man, right? How important transformation is in someone's journey in life. And how important it is for you to look for that transformation and try to find those ways. So that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow. As I said, please do go and check out my Twitter as well, A God Amongst Men 2 on Twitter. That's where you can have a direct conversation with me, post memes and all that other good stuff, and have fun in general in that communication. And like I said, if you feel it in your heart to help support my new publishing of my new book, I'm trying to hit the goal of $2,000. Please donate. www.paypal.me/Corey Capella. Links are in the description. Until tomorrow, everyone, I'll see you mañana.